My name is Peaches Golding. I have letters after my name, which are OBE, and I'm rather proud of that. And my role is I am one of just under 100 people across the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland who are personal representatives of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. The role is called Lord Lieutenant, and yes, even though I am a woman, I am still a Lord Lieutenant. It's a 24/7 job in the sense that I could be attending a breakfast meeting, maybe to launch some voluntary sector projects. It could be an afternoon lunch where we're discussing the affiliation of the city with a particular military unit. It could be an evening awards dinner where I'm giving out prizes or recognizing the good work that other people have done. It could be over the weekend when it's religious or voluntary sector. It could be absolutely anything. And I guess in a week I will have between 12 and 18 things in my diary, week in, week on. I'm fairly clear about my purpose in the sense of the things that I do best, feel most comfortable with, have the most opportunity or interest in improving. And I guess that's around, in a non-political way, may I say, it's around a fairer and a more just society. So, yes, I'm very interested in how you level up the playing field, how it is that we move people from areas of disadvantage or feelings of disadvantage and isolation and lack of connection into what is perceived as the mainstream. You know, I'm very interested in how we diversify boards and bring in different ideas and new ideas that are more aligned to and comfortable with a fairer and a more just society. So yes, when I can be involved in matters of that sort, I think it is appropriate, and I feel good about what can be done. And I think the role of the lieutenancy plays into that space very clearly, because, you know, the Queen is one of those forces that unites us as a country, and we should feel proud of ourselves, and we should do everything that we can do to enable everybody to play their part in our great country and the enormous potential that we have. And we only fulfill that potential if we get everybody involved and equipped and capable of playing the best part they can play in making us a great country. I would say there are plenty of opportunities for the input of women into decision-making and affecting change. And I don't think it's a fight. I think it's an evolution. And I don't think it will be complete in my lifetime, or maybe even that of my grandchildren's lifetime, because I think it's an aspiration. It's something that we have to look forward to and work at, because the way that we do things now is pretty much entrenched, and it has been entrenched for a very long time. As a child, you hear that mummy stays at home and keeps the house together, and daddy goes out with a briefcase and goes to work. And that's never been true. It's never been true, in the sense that daddy didn't always carry a briefcase. He might have carried tools. He might have gone down in a mine. He might have been working on a farm. He might have been doing a whole different things, and none of those required a briefcase, a bowler hat, and an umbrella. And Mom always did more than just keeping the house together. She did a lot of accounting, a lot of legal stuff, a lot of regulation, a whole range of activities. Both of those stereotypes were involved in. But in order to get beyond that stereotype, you know, we have to think about the world that we live in today and the changes that are required to make it a good experience for everybody. And I guess some of the challenges that we face now are we don't live, parents, grandparents, children, in as close a physical proximity as we used to. And therefore, issues like childcare, like elder care, like taking care of sick people, we need to think about that perhaps in a different way that enables, everybody to play a part in that. And to do that, we have to change the way we work, the way we socialize, the way we organize all types of things. So, there's a lot to be done on that front of, if you're looking at the 100 years that it's taken for women to have a right to express a political view, it will take us a long time for women also to have ingrained in our society not just the right to make a political view, but to make a social view, an economic view, a financial view, a legal view, all types of different views that will enable our society to grow and transform into something else.
So it might be strange that a male is given a story of a woman. Saranjit Kaur, which is her real name, and everyone knew her as Sarah, went on to become the first Sikh woman in this city to become the Deputy Lady Mayoress. Sarah's attributes, skills, dedication, commitment as being a mother, but also being a caring mother with some of the projects and some of the work that she does. Sometimes she doesn't realise how much of an impact she can make just by being able to speak to somebody or even share some advice. When she became the Deputy Lady Mayoress, Sarah's always been keen on taking part. She did and still does regular soup runs. But we don't do soup, we do Indian food, and we disperse that throughout the community. She also ensures that taking part and being a representative of the Black, Asian, minority ethnic community is important. Her role also includes how she attended events, dressed in her national, or I would say Indian item of clothing. So where she went, she would always show how she was proud of her history, heritage and culture, but also being able to engage with other women from other backgrounds, other communities, to be able to say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. She's been able to do this and achieve these results, especially in a city where of 250,000 people, where there are only, according to the last census, 89 Sikhs who reside here. One of 89 in a city of 265,000 people, being able to turn around and say, look, I am able to achieve, I'm able to be included and be part of the process, and to show people that this can be done.
Hi there. I would like to nominate not just one woman, but a team of women. So it's Plymouth City Roller Derby. I think it's really important to celebrate women doing different things in society. I'm one of their team members. I've been playing with them for about 8 years, so I know them really well. But the thing about Plymouth City Roller Derby is it's a group of really diverse women from all sorts of different walks of society, none of them athletic. The roller derby attracts all sorts of different people who are traditionally not the normal athletes, because as we all know, in schools, girls are often very disenfranchised when it comes to sports. And so roller derby seems to attract people who have been kind of outside the system and marginalised by the sports system in some way. And it's such a celebration of women and power and diversity, and it encourages people to really push themselves. It encourages a sense of team. It encourages people, women in particular, because it is a predominantly women's sport. It was a sport started by women, and it still is predominantly women, although men are still sort of muscling in a little bit now. But I think it's about celebrating diversity, celebrating being part of a team, celebrating the understanding that you don't have to fit a certain mould to succeed, and that there are ways of people participating at every different level, and it's not about being the best, it's about just doing it. And I think there's something wonderful about that for women. And I think roller derby is particularly one of those sports. Plymouth City Roller Derby has been operating in the city for 8 years. It's done a huge amount of advocacy work for women in sport. It does a huge amount of community fundraising. It supports all sorts of organisations in the city and has been supported by other organisations in the city. And I think that's really important, that it gives back a lot. And I think it's radical because it's about outsiders doing something for themselves, and women are just so good at that. So that's my nomination, is for Plymouth City Roller Derby.
The woman I would like to celebrate is Jane Austen. It's probably not a very original choice, but she's definitely been an inspiration to me and countless other people. I read my first Austen novel when I was a young teenager, and her work is a big part of why I fell in love with literature. This love meant that I went on to study English literature at university, which wasn't necessarily going to be the natural fit for someone with dyslexia. Jane Austen's also an inspiration because she was writing in what was very much a man's world, but she presented her writing as a profession that she pursued to earn money and support herself, which is really brave and even daring for the time she was in. Her work has influenced and inspired so many people, and for that, I think she should always be celebrated.
Hello. The person I want to talk about is Shirley Williams. I think she's been the most remarkable person. One story that illustrates, when I first met her personally, having admired her tremendously for many years, I went to Lib Dem conference as just a young, ordinary member, and I met her in the ladies' cloakroom coming out of the loo. And she waited until I'd finished washing my hands and then said, do you want to dry them? I'll shake your hand and tell you I'm Shirley Williams. The very fact that she didn't say, you must know who I am, or avoid eye contact or anything, but just stood there and just chatted, just one-to-one, was a real revelation. And the more I've thought about it since, the more I think, what a way to introduce yourself. And there's just no side and no pretense of any kind. She's just straightforward. I had several dealings with her afterwards during my short time in minor public life, and found out a lot more about how Shirley coped with having a child at the House of Commons with very little fuss, how she persisted, and how she rose to such huge importance. And even in the House of Lords at over 80, her mind is clear and lucid. Every time she spoke, it was to the point, always uplifting, and I think Shirley Williams has been a remarkable woman. She's still alive, but I certainly think she is one of the really important women, unaffected by power, and using every opportunity to do her utmost to improve lives and to bring about a better future for us all.
A lady that people haven't heard very much about, and her name is Shirley Chisholm, and she was, I think, the first Black American woman to have a seat in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, having been in New York and having had to fight both racial and gender prejudices. She had a wonderful quote which said, "If there's not a seat for you at the table, bring your own chair." I love it. And she was able to achieve quite a lot in her life, although, as I said, she was not recognized for it. And I think she was the first woman ever to run for the office of U.S. President. So she's quite interesting if you look at her in that suffragette mold.